So we're working on completing the Banner Drug 940. We completed the quarterly sheet that has the gross wages for everybody all year. We calculated the FUTA wages by quarter and determined that everybody capped. So our taxable FUTA wages for the year were $28,000. So let's just start filling this in. Total payments to all employees, what do they want here? Gross wages all year. And we did the table where they made $28,717 a quarter. Obviously times 4 quarters. Okay. Then basically the next 2 lines are asking for what if any, part of that $114,868 is exempt from FUTA tax, either because it's one of these following items like retirement pension or fringe benefits, or because it's money in excess, paid them in excess of $7,000, right? Well, which of it is ours in our case? Yeah, in excess of $7,000. I'm not going to ask you to try and combine lines 4 and 5, so I will only give you situations where you're talking about wages in excess of $7,000. If I paid $114,868 all year and my FUTA wages were $28,000, how are you going to get the amount that's in excess? Just find the difference. Find the difference between the $114,868 and the $28,000.
So for 4, that's like other things besides this. Okay.
It is, yeah. But again, for the benefit of those of you listening, I'm not going to ask that you combine 4 and 5. How much of the $114,868 did I pay them in excess of $7,000? Now I'm just going to follow the directions. Subtotal, add line 4 and 5. Seven. Find your FUTA wages. Take line 3 minus line 6. Line 8, figure out your FUTA tax before adjustments. We've already done that. You can double check your numbers, but we've got it up on the chart, don't we? We're not going to get anything complex, so we're not going to have any adjustments. You could, credit reduction, et cetera, but we're not going to have any in our easy examples. We're just trying to get like a basic tax return under our belt. So total FUTA tax after adjustments, line 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 11. Well, obviously that's the same number, right? $13. FUTA tax deposited for the year. How much FUTA have I deposited during the year? 0, because I never got to $500. Therefore, line 14, balance due. And it says right there, if line 14 is 500 or less, you may pay with this return. And just to fast forward a little bit on the third page of the IRS form. Here's your 940V. Hopefully you're doing all this electronically, so you wouldn't have a paper coupon and a check, but if you were doing it paper-wise, you would do this. Otherwise, you would use what system again? Great. Electronic Federal Tax Payment System, EFTPS. Okay, second page. Don't forget to put your company name again, Banner Drug, and your EIN, 611-2799, 611-2799. Okay. Part 5. Report your food tax liability by quarter only if line 12 is more than $500. Otherwise, go to part 6. Was it more than $500? Nope, I don't need to do that. Go to part 6. May we speak with your third-party designee? So that's if you have paid somebody to do this, or you had an employee do it. Are you going to allow somebody else to speak to the IRS if they have questions about it? I mean, I would need to tell you what to put in there. You don't know. And then you're just going to sign your name here as the employee. The date, this was for, which quarter was it again? Third quarter. So what date is this due by? Third quarter, what date am I submitting this by?
October.
Yep, yesterday, huh? 10. Oh, I'm not able to click in there. Weird. Huh.
Actually, it says as soon as the second quarter.
Okay.
I thought it was
Well, at any rate, the date in here would be the last day of the month following the close of the quarter. Okay, what I'd like you to do, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do this, and then we're going to start on chapter 6. Let's go to Sure Value. This is a bi-weekly payroll register. What I'd like you to do in the next 5-7 minutes is to set up your table just like we did here. For the benefit of those of you listening, I think that this time I will try and do it on the FlexCam so that you can see what it should look like. We have the 4 quarters across the top, the names of the employees down the side, and then gross pay per quarter. This is a bi-weekly payroll register, so I have to tell you how many times they're paid per month, right? Yeah, you can figure it out by this. Okay, so I cut 2 checks in July, 2 checks in August, and 2 checks in September. A couple times here I cut 3 checks, so I got to tell you that, right? So really the only thing that's tricky about this is converting the payroll register to quarterly numbers. But on the exam, I might be really kind of just give you the quarterly numbers. Why not?
So I have a question about the 940 that you're using right now. So why did we do October 31st and not January 31st?
Oh, sorry. No, it's 131.
Okay.
It's
All right,
due
I'm
131. It's an annual report. It's due January 31st. Thank you for correcting me. The first time that's happened this week, I'll be frank. I sent my income tax class yesterday, this gentleman up front of me, do you want to just kind of come up here and just keep the conversation flowing? Because I seem to be spewing misinformation.
So it'd be the deposits that would be.
The deposits are possibly due quarterly if you get over $500. The return is always due 131. try as much as possible to do your table without looking at your notes so that you're reinforcing what the table should look like and how to set it up.
Or just assuming every quarter is the same.
Oh, gosh, right. Sorry. Yep. So that's not helpful here, is it? Okay. First quarter, 6. Gotcha. Second quarter, 7. Thank you. Third quarter, 6. Oh my goodness, keep me honest. Fourth quarter, 7. Okay, so this is how many checks per quarter. Thank you. Right? Okay, so just to show you that are watching, those of you that are watching online, so Pima was paid 6 times in the first quarter, 7 in the second, 6 in the third, 7 in the fourth. So this is what his gross wages look like for the year. So the next thing I need to do is determine when he or she capped. Did she hit the 7,000 in the first quarter? Obviously not. Did she get over $7,000 in the second quarter? No. How much had she made then going into the third quarter? Well, I can figure that out by adding her first quarter wages plus her second quarter wages. She had gotten to $6,760. So in the third quarter, how much of her 3,120 gets counted towards food wages? 240, the difference between what she'd made before and the $7,000 cap. So I use a different colored pen, I cross it out, I pencil in her food wages, and then once you hit 7,000, you know anything subsequent, you can just do this, right? 0. Okay, go ahead, please. Do a couple more, and then I'm going to leave that. We'll reinforce that on Monday. In other words, finish this chart, take it to the 940, just like we did with the last guy, and then we'll go over it on Monday. I'll give you a couple more minutes, and then we're going to start on Chapter 6. Sure, of course. Yeah, and for those of you that are listening online, these registers are posted in, are they posted in the Chapter 5 unit? Yeah. Okay, so together, can we just one more time reinforce what the 4 subtotal categories are, and then I'm going to move on from this. So once I've done this for each person, what's the first thing in the subtotal, Gabby, that I put in? Gross wages. And that's actually tallying up what everybody made. James, what's the second category under gross wages? FUTA wages. Okay, how do I get that number? Laurel?
So you have to, up to $7,000 per.
Yep, so some of the people, it's going to be just pulling what's here. But like when you get to the third quarter, I'm only going to pull the 240, right, from PIMA. Okay. Maddie, what's next?
Your FUTA liability,
Yep. Which is what times what?
your FUTA wages times your .006.
Yep, the wages that I just calculated above times .006. And then lastly, David, what's my last line item? FUTA deposit. And the rule there one more time? You got to get to 500. Okay, for Monday, finish this, take it to a 940. We'll do a quick reinforcement on that. I can guarantee you there will be a 940 on the exam. It's over 2 periods like we did last time. The first period of the exam is multiple choice, short calculations, and then there's going to be a section worth probably, I don't know, I can't remember exactly, 12 or 14 points that's on all the forms. 1099, 1096, W3C, SS8.
Information about them or filling.
Information about them. What is it? Who do I send it to? What's the purpose? It's not enough to just answer, tax form. It's a annual FUTA, reporting FUTA wages and FUTA liability. So I know that I'm not as interested in the very formal name of the statement as that you can convey what's the purpose of the information return. Why am I doing it? Who does it go to?
Can we hear the next line just go back?
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay, can you read me how much Zuni's wages were for one paycheck, please?
So 559.
Okay, so Zuni makes $5.59 a check, times 6 checks, $33.54, right? And we know that's in the first and the third. Read me that number one more time, Maddie.
559.
559 times 7 for the second and the fourth quarters, right? Okay, so times 2 of those plus 33.54 plus 33.54. So these are obviously really part-time people, huh? 14,534 in the year. So the next question is, does Zuni cap in the first quarter? No. Does Zuni cap in the second quarter? I think he does. And I can check that. I eyeballed it, but 3354 plus 3913 is over 7,000. So in the second quarter, I need to figure out how much of that is susceptible to FUTA. How am I going to do that, Dave?
And I think his second quarter wages and subtracted by whatever excess of 7,000, 267.
Okay, no. What you're writing down is how much you went over 7,000. I care about how much it took him up to 7,000.
So I would do 7,000 minus.
Yeah, 7,000. Oh, wait. 7,000 minus 3,354. So of the $3,913, $3,646 is susceptible to FUTA. The number you gave me, David, is how much you went over. Does that make sense to everybody? And then I can just fill in zeros because once you've capped, you've capped. Okay? Okay, now we're down to 5 minutes, but I'm still going to do an introduction. So chapter 6 is our last chapter on out of our book, our current book. And what we're working on, if I can get in here, it's not allowing me in here. What we're working on is journal entries for to get our to get the results of our payroll registers into our formal accounting system. So it's a revisiting of debits and credits and some of the forms that we use in preparing our payroll and how that's going to translate into getting the numbers into our financial statements. So analyzing and journalizing payroll. Okay, so gosh, it's like, it feels so redundant, I guess in a way it kind of is, that you're entering the same data in lots of different places. So we know you've been doing a manual payroll register, right? So obviously in the real world today, it's mostly digital, although some people actually do still keep manual payroll registers. I've got 2 clients that bring me little ledgers. They're older, they've had, they run the same paychecks for 15 years. So payroll register, then it goes to the employee earnings record where you keep a record per employee so you can figure out when they cap. And then we go to the general journal. And does everybody remember what a general journal looks like? What's the first column? Date. Then the next column is what? The account description. And then debit and credit. And we know that debits have to equal credits. Debits come first, credits are indented a little bit, okay? So there's 3 things we're going to learn about journalizing. First off, we have to journalize the payroll itself, gross wages and all the withholdings. Secondly, we have to journalize all of the payroll taxes that the employer pays. And what are those again? What are those 4 taxes? FUTA, SUTA, OASDI, and HI. So the first one, the first journal entry, is for the gross pay and all of the employee taxes. The second one is only for employer taxes. And then we've got to deposit them, so we're going to need to make journal entries to deposit the taxes. And then we're also going to learn about journalizing our period end accruals. Once we've journalized them, as you well know from taking Accounting 101, then we post to the general ledger and run our financial statements. You guys know what a payroll register looks like. We've been working on one all semester. Okay, this is basically the overview. Gross payroll, right? The gross amount of the checks. What kind of account is that going to get debited to? Is that an asset, an income, an expense, a liability, an equity? It's an expense, wage expense. In a small company, it's just flat out wage expense. In a big complicated company, it's going to be by department. Wage expense operations, wage expense sales, wage expense research and development, right? Okay, but for our little examples, it's just going to be wage expense. Without looking at the screen, see if you can just think this through. Every single thing that I take out of your paycheck has got to go to what type of account? A payable. If I take money out of your paycheck, it's because I got to give it to someone else. So therefore, that is a payable, and payables are always what type of accounts? Liabilities. And then you credit cash because you wrote the checks. It's super simple, and everybody will sit out there and smile and nod. I totally get it. And then historically, half of you will come on the test and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. So we really need to nail this. You need to debit wage expense, credit each payable account for whatever you're withholding, and credit cash for the amount of the net paychecks. There's no creativity here. It's the same thing over and over. It doesn't matter if you're running one paycheck for 2 hours or paying the entire university system their monthly wage. Okay? Oh, sorry. These are examples of other kinds of withholdings. Insurance premiums, purchase of government bonds, union dues, garnishments, pension contributions. Each one of those is its own payable account. And don't sit and sweat what the name of it is, just call it 401k payable, union dues payable, garnishments payable. Okay, as long as you have that word payable on it, I know that you know that it's a liability account. Do liabilities show up on your balance sheet or your P&L? Balance sheet. Good. Where does wage expense show up, on your balance sheet or your P&L? P&L, your income statement. Okay, these are all just examples of different things that you can take out of your wages. Okay, I think I'll leave off here. We'll talk about garnishments. So let's talk about next week's plan. I'm anticipating